Greetings. Today I'm going to demonstrate for you how to install and uninstall a rain column from our MIC precipitation samplers. On the first of the month, when you arrive at the site and are ready to take down the column that has been sampling for the prior month, the first thing you need to do is touch the sensor pad arm so that the unit will open, and then, as I've done here, flip the unit off into the off position so that the hood is not going to close while you're cleaning out the basin and removing the column from this month. The first thing you want to do is have your DI water, and about 200 milliliters in this bottle, and you want to, with the column still in place, as you can see, there's the column, there's my carboy, and there's a graduated cylinder for measuring the volume of precipitation collected. First thing you want to do is take your DI water and you want to rinse out the inside of your basin very well and just really put a whole lot of water into the unit so that you can see how the water is flowing through the column. You want to establish a flow rate. So here you are, these are the first things you do. You're rinsing the inside. Use a whole lot of water, don't spare it. Now this is Omnisolve reagent grade water that you've got in here. It's DI water, and I will provide it to the site operators as is needed. All you have to do is make the request. So I've got a bunch of water flowing through here. Let's come down and unhook the tube and look at the flow rate we have here. So you want to have it about 1 or 2 drips every second. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it drip like that. And then you want to go ahead and close it off and reconnect the tube. And go back up. Rinse a little bit more. And go ahead and open it back up so that you know you've got water flowing through the column. So there we go. Alright, water's flowing. And what it's doing is allowing any of the particulate matters or any other of the sample itself inside the basin to go ahead and rinse down through the column so we get a full sample for the month. Now that we've done that, we really get to cleaning it. That first step is primarily just to establish a flow rate. You take all your water, your 200 mils, and then also at the first of the month with your supplies, I send a muffled glass fiber filter for rinsing the inside of the basin, and I also send a brush which is to be used in the hole that's in the center of the basin. So first, take out your glass fiber filter here. Open it up. And you might want to fold it in half, or just so that it's a little bit more durable. These are not the most durable wipes, and that's why I've also got some Chem wipes here, which can be used secondarily. Now take all your water and just really go to town cleaning it. Rinse the insides, but you don't want to touch the collection basin. You don't want to touch the surfaces of the sampling surface, because just to avoid contamination. If you see any things that are stuck to the inside surface here, that's what your wipe is for getting that stuff off of there. So continue cleaning, get everything off so that you have a nice clean surface to start your next sample with. Again, all these rinsings are passing down through the column and out into the carboy. So we're just going to keep on cleaning here. And the next step will be to utilize the brush that's also sent with your sampling supplies to clean out the hole. Now this surface here, this is a stainless steel surface, and it's really easy to get stuff off of it. You know, things don't stick to it very strong. Here we are. I mean, if you don't see anything on the surfaces, you don't have to, utilize the full 200 mils that you got here. This is actually a 500 milliliter container, so I'm not going to use this whole container. So, now that I've done that, I'm going to get my brush and poke it through the hole in the bottom of the basin just to ensure that it's obstruction free, which it appears to be. Okay. And now I am going to rinse just a little bit more. Anything that was in the hole there, I'm going to rinse it down into the column. And then go down to my column and remove a bit of the foil so that I can see where the water level in the column is. As this water passes out of the column, or down through the column, you want to stop the flow when the water's about right there, about 2/3 of the way down the column, just a little bit above halfway. The column needs to have water in it all the time, so when you take your column down, there should be water in it. So all these rinsings are pouring down through the column, and then you come down here and you shut it off when the water is basically just above your XAD, the white resin that's inside the column. When it's just above it, maybe about 2 inches or so, an inch, just as long as the XAD stays immersed in water. Go ahead and put your foil back. One thing that I always check when I go to a site is the presence of an O-ring in the bottom of this column. It's very important that that O-ring is in place, because without it, all of this water that's passing through the column is just going to seep out through the threads, because that O-ring is missing. The O-ring prevents that. So now our water is passed into our carboy. We've got 2/3 left. What we're going to do now is put a Teflon plug. When I sent you the column the month before, you had to take the plug off of the top of the column, and you should have put it into some clean foil. Now we're just going to remove that plug from the foil, and we're going to rinse it with methanol and water. So here's my methanol, and here's my water rinse. So now I've just cleaned it for the sake. It's been in foil since the beginning of the month, but just to be safe, you need to rinse it again right here. Now, what we want to do now is take the tube off, get the carboy out of the way, and take the column, unscrew it, and put the cap back onto it. Likewise, you're going to do the same thing with the bottom. You're going to unscrew it, and I've already rinsed. See, my O-ring didn't come out there, so sometimes it's good to have a pair of forceps on site with you. But that's alright if the O-ring didn't come out in this case. As long as you've got an extra, you can take your plug I've already rinsed and closed this column up. Now, just as a note, a reminder, you want to make sure that you've got black O-rings in place, and so here is your sample from last month. These were both rinsed before you took them off or put them back in. They had both been stored in the aluminum foil from the very beginning of the month. So here you have your sample. You need to take it into the shack or somewhere controlled, label it, and get it ready for shipping. So that pretty much concludes how to uninstall your sample. Now put your carboy back in. Make sure that you use your graduated cylinder to measure the volume. If you have to, 1 liter at a time, 2 liters at a time. The carboy should be emptied. If you go to the site every Tuesday, as the SOP dictates, then on that Tuesday, when you look at the carboy, if it's more than half full, or if it's above 10 liters, because at most of our sites we have 20-liter carboys, if it's above 10 liters, you need to empty it, and that is done by just emptying it into the graduated cylinder and actually measuring it to the nearest 10th milliliter. Okay, so now that we've uninstalled the column, we're ready to get set for next month's sampling. So I will go ahead and get all that stuff ready. Hi, now that we have uninstalled the last month's sample, we're ready to start on the process of installing a new sample according to the SOP for the precipitation collector. Now here is my new sample, or my new column for the month. I also have a new outlet valve. It's clean. If you don't get a new one, then what you should do is rinse it. But anyway, the first thing we'll do is put a bucket inside the cabinet, because yes, we're going to rinse it once again. Now at this point, we know that the basin is pretty clean. We've tried to get everything that we possibly could off the inside so it could go along with the sample collected last month. But now, this is a liter container. You need to take a liter of the DI water, and it doesn't matter what kind of container you use. At our sites I have a beaker, but here I do not. So you want to take this, you want to rinse all this out really well. If you do happen to see anything left on the inside of the basin, you can use your chem wipes, these spin tissues, to go over the inside. And then you want to take about 200 milliliters of methanol again and just go over it one more time here, just to be safe and sure that everything's clean. And in this case, though, you see that we're collecting in just a bucket below in the basin. We're not going to save any of this. So here we are doing a final rinse with our methanol, about 200 mils. Looks good. It's nice and clean. You don't see anything on the inside. So once you've done that and the water has all passed through, you just wait for it to collect in your bucket there. And then you want to take the new column and look at it. Maybe take a little bit of the foil back to determine which end is the bottom. Now the bottom of the column will be the end that has the XAD all the way to the plug. Okay, there's a little bit of glass wool in there to keep the XAD from falling out, but the XAD will come from about the halfway point all the way down to the bottom, and then up here on the top you just got water. So once you've found the bottom, you want to invert it and take out the plug. Teflon plug. Again, there's an O-ring in place. You want to put that into the clean foil that came with your new outlet valve, or any clean aluminum foil that you have. All the sites should have aluminum foil at them. So you want to take your outlet valve, your new one. If a new one is not in your supplies, then you need to take DI water and you need to rinse it really well. Then you need to rinse it with methanol really well. Then rinse it with DI water again. Make sure it's clean. You want to make sure that you can see through it so that it's clear of obstructions, and then just thread it into the bottom of the column. So now that we've got it nice and tight and closed, we can take it, invert it again so it's right side up, and take the top plug off. There we go. So see, no water is coming out. Take the other plug that you just took out, put it in some clean foil. And you might even just go ahead and cover it up too, just to keep it clean. So let's take our bucket out of the collector, and let's, oh yeah, we need to rinse. We need to rinse the threads on the basin outlet. So let's get some DI water. And then you want to rinse it with methanol too. Okay, so now we're ready to install the new column. That is the last step right there of your cleaning, is to rinse the threads on the basin outlet. So now you take your new column and thread it up onto the outlet. There you go. Now there's already, water in the column. So what we need to do is establish a flow rate for it. So we need to take a little bit of our water here and add about 50 mils to the basin, just so you have a chance to see the flow rate well. And you want about 1 drip per second, like we were saying. And then once you see that, go ahead and attach your tube, your tube that goes to your overflow container. And there you have it. The water will only go so far into the tube unless it's raining and has constant flow coming into the basin. Otherwise, it'll stay right there in the column. So I can see it, and it's probably going to make its way to about right here, the midway point. But then it'll stop, and I'll still have water in the column. And then, like I said, during a rain event, the constant input of water will push that into the carboy, and then whatever follows it will continue to push into the carboy until the rain stops, at which point the water will eventually settle about halfway between these two. So you've got it covered up tight with the foil, the column. You've got your O-ring in place. You've got your flow rate established. You're making sure that the tube is going into the carboy, and just do an overall check of everything else. If it's winter time, you want to make sure that your heater is working in here. There's also another little thermostat in here that can be turned all the way to the right, or I believe it's in Celsius, so you can turn it up to like 20-25 degrees Celsius, and that will keep the little probe underneath the stainless steel basin warm, and therefore your water in your basin won't freeze up on you. So that's what that little heater inside there is for. Usually there's a space heater provided to the site to keep the carboy from freezing, but there's a separate thermostat controlled heating probe underneath the basin that you'll see. So when you're done with that, you want to reset the little thermometer that you got in here, that Brooklyn thermometer that has the knurled nut on the bottom of it. So go ahead and reset that so that both the orange needles, or the orange, I guess brackets you want to call them, come to the needle, and then you're set for the week. So next Tuesday when you come back, those little brackets will space out over the course of a week, and it'll tell you what the maximum and minimum temperatures experienced inside the cabinet were, and you can adjust your space heater accordingly. What else? Really, after you've reset the thermometer, that's about all you need to do, except for resetting. You'll turn the power back on, and eventually your hood will close and you'll be set. The sampler will be ready for any precipitation, and the hood will open automatically. And then at the end of the month, you'll come back and you'll do this whole thing all over again. As a weekly check, when you go to the site, you need to look at your sensor pads and make sure that they're nice and clean. And again, you can use Chem Wipe and some of that DI water to rinse these and keep them clean so that they'll react to water, to the precipitation when it happens. Other than that, I think that's about it for installing the columns. When you go to the site and do this, you want to maybe check some of these Allen cap screws that are in here. Make sure everything's tight. Make sure these little C-clips or E-clips are all in place. You have outside, inside, and then a little plastic spacer all around. Just do an overall examination of the condition of the unit. But this one looks pretty good, so I am going to close her up. And I will turn the unit on, and in just a few minutes you'll have a closed sampler. Now, I have provided to the site a sheet like this, which is a step-by-step instruction sheet for the procedure that I've just described of uninstalling and then reinstalling. And it's really a good idea to have this inside your cabinet so that every time you go to the site you can look at this and just go by it. And if you don't have this right now, just let me know and I will be glad to send it to you, maybe with a little magnet so that you can stick it inside the cabinet and it's always there. My contact information is there. It's also on the protocols. So if you ever need anything, all you have to do is email me or call me at the office at IU. The number is 812-856-4364. I guess the only other information that may be pertinent or relevant is to talk about maybe a field blanks. In the instance of a field blank, if you have one to set up, you do the cleaning procedure as I've described, and you install as I've described, but at the end you turn it back on and let it close, but then you turn the unit off so that the entire month this unit never opens in response to precipitation, and that column just sits in there as it is. Nothing passes through it. But some of my sites don't have two samplers, so we can't do field blanks. They only have one. Master stations have two. So that is how you do the uninstallation and reinstallation of columns for the IADN project's precipitation samplers, the MIC. Alright, thank you very much.